The year is 1480 CE and you are born in Tenochtitlan, the capital city of the Aztec Empire. Music: your father is a Calpui sandal maker, a commoner, which means he works and pays tribute while asking the gods for good seasons. He is a steady man, not loud, not ambitious. All he cares about is making good sandals. On the other hand, your mother weaves cloth. She is the kind of woman who's quick to laugh but quicker to scold. Still, she dotes on you. Since you could remember, she had always told you that your skin is a gift from the gods. So, you grow up with the belief that the goddess of hidden desires favors you. By age 5, you run along the canals of Tenochtitlan with mud between your toes and maize in your teeth. You race other children across the market bridges. You steal flowers from the ceremonial vendors and wear them in your hair. The first time you get caught, you flash a smile and the vendor forgives you. From that day on, your face becomes your cheat code. Years pass and you turn 14, your beauty has grown so much. You make strangers pause mid-step. You think nothing of it. That's how your life has always been. A month after you turn 14, you notice something strange. Your mother tells you to stay home and not go anywhere throughout the next month. No reason given, just stay inside. Don't go to the market. Don't walk by the canal. That's 20 whole days. In the Aztec calendar, there are 18 months of 20 days, and the next month is the 14th month. You ask why. You state that you made plans with friends to go watch boys hunt to celebrate the month of Kakali, a hunting month. Your father tells you to forget it, that there are bad men around. You nod and accept their orders. But after a week of boredom, you make up your mind. The next morning, after your parents leave the house, you slip out with your friends and go to the market. The market is loud and bright. It smells of chili and wet stone. Laughter, you all run to the flower vendors. As you reach to pick a flower, someone grabs you. Immediately, you flash your smile. Big mistake. As he holds you, he calls for someone. Almost immediately, 3 other similarly dressed men surround you. They do not introduce themselves. They do not explain. One tilts your chin, studies your eyes, checks your hands, your posture, your teeth. Your friends have already backed away. The man checking you stands up and nods. Another one asks where you live. You take them home. There, your parents are already waiting. Immediately your mother sees the men holding you. She bursts into tears. One of the men steps forward and introduces himself to your father. He says he is a priest of Tezcatlipoca, goddess of filth, sin, sexual purification, lust, and midwives. And what he's looking for is a vessel for their goddess. The Aztecs believe that the gods are abstract cosmic energies that cannot interact with the physical world unless they are given a physical form. This is why a living human vessel is required. It allows the community to directly feed, interact with, appease and worship the deity. He says, you tick all the requirements, youth, symmetry, and the specific innocence the eternally desiring goddess requires in her vessel. In short, you're perfect. His words fill you with pride. Then you see your father's face. It moves through several things. Pride first, then worry, and finally resignation. He does not refuse. No one refuses. Your mother asks when they can visit. They tell her never. That from that day on, you have no more mortal ties. Immediately, she faints. Your father tries to wake her up as the men take you away. You watch them as tears pour from your eyes. That same evening, your name is retired. You are now Tlazaltsin, precious sin-bearer, the goddess of filth, sin, sexual purification, lust, and midwives. The first morning is disorienting in the best possible way. They bathe you in water infused with copal and herbs. They oil your skin with something that smells like earth and flowers. They bring out the regalia piece by piece. Jade at your throat, jade at your wrists, and a hupil so finely woven it catches light like water. The headdress alone takes 3 attendants to place correctly. Marigolds are woven into your hair. Then, doll-like, you look into the obsidian mirror and do not entirely recognize the face looking back, but what you know is that it is the most beautiful thing you have ever seen. For the first week, you allow yourself to think, perhaps this is not so terrible. The food is extraordinary. Cacao, tamales with squash and chili and fruits you didn't know existed. You sleep on a raised platform with woven blankets. Attendants anticipate every need before you do. When your procession moves through the city, citizens stop walking and bow not to you, but to the goddess in you. Still, you claim it all. You miss your mother. You miss the canal and the noise of the markets and the specific smell of your father's workshop. But you are 14 and 14 is young enough to believe that comfort is a reasonable substitute for home. You tell yourself this at night when you feel like crying. Some nights it works. Then the visits start. The first priest visits at the end of the 2nd month. He enters the chamber in the evening with the composed bearing of a man arriving for a scheduled appointment. He looks 50. His regalia indicates that he's a senior priest. He addresses you as goddess as he bows. Then he speaks the formal invocation. He says what he has come to receive. You don't understand at first. You ask him to repeat himself. He does patiently, still in the formal register, still addressing you as goddess. He explains that Tlazalteo is the divine patron of sacred sin and purification through the body. That worship of her nature is worship of her, that you are her, and this is devotion. You are 14 years old and you are alone in a chamber with a man who has just explained your function using the word devotion. Screaming, there is no one to call. There is nowhere to go. The absence of the guards in your attendance says a lot already. Then he worships. After he leaves, you sit still for a long time. The next morning, attendants come in and replace the flowers in your hair. They say nothing. The second time is a different man, younger. He's also of senior rank and just as devoted. By the 6th time, you have learned to endure, a skill your body develops before your mind decides to. By the 20th time, the men are less senior. Still priests, still framed as worship, but the reverence has loosened at the edges. Some speak to you less formally. Some bring offerings of sin confessed. Some don't bother. One talks about temple politics the entire time as if he's given the goddess a rundown of temple schemes. You don't speak. You have learned that the goddess does not require a voice, only a presence. Still, the flowers get replaced each morning. The visits continue and you stop counting. 7 months into your divine life. A senior priest sits across from you and explains that you have a role in Tashkil, the festival dedicated to honor the warrior gods, Tezcatlipoca and Huitzilopochtli during the dry seasons before the rains. But before anything, he tells you a myth first. He tells you that in the beginning, Tlazalteo wandered the earth absorbing the sins of mortals. She was taken by Tezcatlipoca, the god of night, who claimed her for his realm, and so she became bound to him. The priest tells you that you, Tlazalts in the vessel, will reenact this myth during Teshado. He also tells you that a man has been walking the streets of Tenochtitlan for nearly a year carrying the role of Tezcatlipoca inside him. That you and 3 other goddess wives will be brought to him and live as his wives for 20 days and that at the end of those 20 days he will be sacrificed. You ask what will happen to you after Teshado? He tells you that you'll return to your temple. You nod. You have been nodding for 7 months. That day, you're brought to a courtyard somewhere distant. There you meet 3 other women, the goddess wives. The first one is around your age. You're sure she's the vessel of Ixiptla since she's carrying a basket of corn. The next one you notice is a woman wearing symbols of the underworld. You realize she must be the vessel of another dark aspect. The last one is the vessel of a water goddess. She's the first person you've met since you were selected who speaks her mind without calculating the cost first. She takes one look at the formal procession assembling around you all and says quietly that you 4 are the most overdressed women in Tenno and that at least the food had better be worth it. You laugh. Laughter, you hadn't realized how long it had been since you laughed. Then they bring him out. He's older and tall. The first thing you notice is his smile. Then the obsidian mirror he carries. Finally, the way he walks like he doesn't have a care in the world. You almost can't believe he's going to be dead in 20 days. The next 20 days unfold in a way nobody prepared you for. He argues philosophy with the others after dinner until they start making up premises just to see if he'll catch them. He always does. He teaches the young one secret names for stars that make her cry with laughter. He loses at games 7 times before winning once. And the expression on his face when he wins is so disproportionately triumphant that all 4 of you collapse. But with you, he is quieter. He looks at you sometimes the way the myth almost explains. Tezcatlipoca who took because he couldn't help it. You don't know whether he's playing the role or something else is happening. You suspect he doesn't entirely know either. One evening when the others are sleeping and the lamps have burnt low, you ask him how he smiles knowing what the end of Ixiptla holds. He is quiet for a long time. Then he says the gods sacrificed themselves to make the world. That he considers himself repayment of a debt that existed before he was born. You look at him for a long time. You don't tell him what you're thinking. And what you're thinking is, I don't want you to die. Let's run away. Outside the city drums boom as they've always boomed. They will continue to boom after everything as they were before either of you were born. The 20th day arrives. You knew it would and somehow didn't believe it would anyway. On the morning of that day, the dread is physical. It feels like a wet blanket pressed over the entire compound. You look at him and realize that he is quieter than you have ever seen him. Not frightened, something more settled than fear. You want to say something. You open your mouth. But before you find the words, attendants arrive. They dress you all with the careful attention of people who know exactly what today is. By afternoon, the 5 of you are in a canoe on the lagoon. The water is completely still. Nobody speaks. The young one finds her hands and holds it. You let her. At the far shore. He steps out first and stands at the foot of the steps and turns to look at all 4 of you. He touches each of your hands once. Yours last. Then he turns toward the steps. He does not look back. The first mirror shatters on the stone. Sharp, clean, final. Each break is deliberate and by the time he reaches the summit there is nothing left in his hands. The young one is crying without making any sound. The others stare. You look at the top of the pyramid. You have spent 20 days watching him practice for this moment. The smile, the steadiness, the way he repaid a debt he didn't choose to owe. You understood the logic, but there is no word in Nahuatl or any other language for watching someone you love walk towards something you cannot follow them into. You stand at the foot of the steps for a long time. The canoe waits, but eventually you get back in. That same day, you return to your temple. Inside, everything is exactly as you left it this morning. Fresh flowers, clean jade, sacred vessels arranged. Your chamber still smells of copal and marigold. By your side, the head attendant bows and tells you a patron is waiting. You look at her for a moment. She looks back with a patient and neutral expression that tells you all you need to know. So, you nod and go in. The visits resume as if Tezcatlipoca were a dream. Different men, same reverence, same hypocritical framing. The flowers are still replaced each morning. But no one ever asks how you slept. You stop waiting for someone to acknowledge what was lost. Nobody is going to. You are the goddess, and the goddess does not grieve. 6 months pass. The visits continue. The flowers are replaced while the sacred vessels are filled and emptied and filled again. The men come with their reverence and their desires dressed in religious language. You receive them all the same. This is what your life is now. You have stopped arguing with it. On the 13th month of the Aztec calendar, the festival of Tezcatlipoca begins and the temple transforms overnight. Marigolds are scattered everywhere, covering the courtyard stones, threaded through every doorway. Ritual drinking starts at dawn. Drums layer over drums. The city's mood lifts into something almost frantic. By noon, lines have formed. The confession lines begin. Men who have visited your chamber arrive at dawn to kneel before you and confess their sins. They pierce their tongues with grass blades, 1 cut per transgression. They believe with this their record would be erased as their soul is cleansed. They bow to you afterward with genuine gratitude. You look at their faces and feel nothing. You wonder if they see what they did to you as a sin. Still, you don't ask. After all, the goddess is all-knowing. But today there are more visitors than usual. More ceremony, more everything. You expected this. The festival requires a full presentation. Then the head priestess comes in and sits beside you. She takes your hands, smiles, and tells you tonight is special. That the goddess's power has been fully realized in you. That the Tezcatlipoca, the ruler himself, has requested your presence at the pyramid tonight. She tells you that is the highest honor a vessel has ever been given. You thank her. You have been trained for 13 months to receive things gracefully. The procession begins at dusk. Torches line every causeway. Drums layer over drums until it sounds like rumbling thunder. You proceed through the streets you have walked for 13 months and the crowds part and bow the way they always have. The Templo Mayor rises ahead of you. You climb 40 steps, 60. The city spreads below you in every direction. The canals catching torchlight. The floating gardens dark and still. The causeways packed with people who have come to watch the goddess arrive. It is the most magnificent thing you have ever stood above. You think briefly of your father's stall, the canal, your mother's hands. You look down, hoping to see something familiar, but the attendants hurry you along. At the summit, the priests are assembled. The stone is there. Immediately upon you seeing the stone and feeling the hands on your shoulders, everything makes sense. You finally know why you never met the woman who held this role before you. Why the head priestess smiled exactly the way she smiled and why you were never told about the knife in the Tezcatlipoca's hands. Still, your realization changes nothing. Hands press you down. The stone is cold against your back. Above you, the stars are scattered across the dark. The same stars he used to rename in the evenings. You look at them. The drums do not stop. You do not stop being the goddess. That was never something they were going to let you choose. You watch the Tezcatlipoca say, Tezcatlipoca, we sacrifice this vessel to you to ask that sins be washed and life renewed next year. You smile since it's to the goddess and for the kingdom. You'll not fight back. One last act of perfect embodiment. The goddess serene at her own completion. Immediately you die. They flay you. Your skin is pulled away from your body as a priest is brought forward. He struggles into your skin while it is still warm. It fits him perfectly. Nobody remarks on this. Then he walks to a loom placed nearby. He sits and begins to weave. Weaving is part of the goddess's sacred domain of creation and purification, and the goddess must continue her duties. After all, the goddess does not end. Only the woman inside her. Around him, the sacred women kneel and weep. They weep for the goddess whose skin the priest wears. They do not weep for the woman whose identity has been forgotten. The man weaves, the women weep, the drums continue. Somewhere across the city, attendants are already replacing flowers for tomorrow morning. 20 days later, the skin is removed. The priest had worn it the whole time. Now it is folded and placed in a sealed container, which is then carried to a chamber beneath the temple where it is left. You lived as a goddess for 18 months. It began on the 14th month and ended on the 13th month. Another cycle will repeat itself again on the 14th month, or another young girl will replace you just to suffer the same fate a year later. 500 years later, archaeologists will find your skins. They will photograph them and write papers calling them remarkable. They will publish the papers in journals and address your skins as belonging to vessels. They'll call it a stunning ancient tradition. No one will acknowledge you. The truth is, since the day you were picked, no one saw you for you anymore. They only saw the goddess. Well, everyone except him.